come on? Okay, sorry. How are you doing? Pole sana nilidhani come to. A very good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. I've just realized by the lighting I should have taken that makeup option. But it's okay. We move regardless. I'm shining because of the grace of God upon my life. You better believe that and receive it as well. Hapo sawa. Hope you're doing well and that your Tuesday has started in an amazing way. Exciting show we have lined up for you in a very sensitive topic as well. It's something that has been going on. We've been seeing a lot of these reports online, and I guess now we just want to try to put it in perspective for you just a little bit, and hopefully, as we do with these shows, if for nothing else but to start the conversation or to make it easier for you to start the conversation, because you can say, ulisikia kitu kina Willis alikuwa anaongelelea. That way, slide that conversation in. Today, I want to talk about sexual harassment at the office or at work. Let's not say office, because work, it could be anywhere. And this is the question of the day. I want to jump right into it. Why do you think people do not report sexual harassment at work? Why do you think people do not report sexual harassment at work? The SMS is 22422. That is the SMS platform. I urge you today, because of the sensitivity of the matter and you might want to remain anonymous, you can SMS using 22422, and you don't have to leave your name or your... Of course, we won't share your number, but you don't have to leave your name or where you're watching from. So you can SMS on 22422 and tell us your views on this. Why do you think people do not report sexual harassment at work, and any incidences you might have faced, or any forms? Because again, what is it as well? So you can tell us what forms that are there. But if you're bold enough and you want to speak out about it and you're confident in yourself and your answer, the hashtag to use is Daybreak, and we'll pick those as well. We are here with Roberta Bobby.
Wagwan.
How are you doing?
Poa sana.
A very good morning to you.
A very, very lovely.
Yes. Makafiti.
Thank you so much.
This is your mom again?
It's my mom.
Shout out to Bobby's mom.
It's just my
doing the thing.
Amesema this year lazima nitoke soko.
Yeah.
Ni soko ama streets.
Well, what are you eat soko?
So this is subtly trying to show people I look nice in vitenges, and I should dress more in vitenges. And I'm enjoying it. I like it.
So that pia kuja kwa different needs, different functions.
Zianze.
It's
about
kukuja.
time.
It's about time, people. Ladies and gentlemen, the campaign, wacha tusi campaign sana. She's here.
I will speak for myself on my Twitter.
Yes. Bobby fine.
Yes.
All right. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Sija Temo is also going to be joining us in a short while. And there have been some excerpts as well that he shared, and I'll try to read them out during the day. Big shout out to Joyce as well, who is watching online. Shout out to you. Na hata wewe unaweza changia topic. Ukitaka nisome jina yako nitasoma, ama taisoma tu as one of the comments. And check it, because it's a very sensitive topic today. I guess I'll ask you that question as well, Roberta. Why do you think people do not, in your view, report sexual harassment at work?
Well, there's a couple reasons, but I'd start with the lack of awareness. I realized that as I was growing up, I didn't know much about sexual harassment or about sex altogether. So I didn't really have the awareness to know when someone was overstepping or... and I'll give an example. It's like when you're really, really young, like 9 years old, and you're being catcalled by really grown men. In the society that we lived in, it was kind of normalized, so it kind of looked like, oh, when you're pretty, it's normal. It's normal for you to be noticed or realized. Till you grow up, 20 years later, you realize, oh, wow, I was 9. And these people who are catcalling me were in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. That's pedophilia. So the lack of awareness, when you don't have enough information to be able to gauge, is this right? Is this what is happening okay? Is this acceptable in the work environment or whatever environment that it is? So this is why we need to educate ourselves more. This is why we need to talk about such things, about such topics very, very openly. Most times I see people shy away from the topic of sex or anything related to that. And I mean, I don't know if it's a cultural thing or if it's just the way we've been socialized and how we've grown up in this society, but I feel like these are topics and discussions that we should have very, very easily. So aside from having the awareness, I think something else is fear. We have a lot of fear because by the time that, you see, the environment that a workplace creates is that there's the power dynamics of, there's a boss and there's a subordinate of the boss. So what what sexual harassment does in this situation is that it takes away power from the employee, because now you have the fear of, if I do not accept what is being suggested, or if I do not agree to what is being put on the table, it becomes that there's a possibility that you might lose your job if you do not comply. So fear is a really, really big factor. So imagine msiako situation yenye hana information, first of all, hajui. And then the moment on a clock, oh, this is not right, this person should not be speaking this way or making such jokes or comments about me, especially in a sexual way in the workplace. By the time when I realize, it's like, but they have a more prominent position at the office. So if I speak out, will I really be listened to? Is it going to come back and bite me in the back? So should I speak out? Ama nilenge tuju, isn't it to happen kwa ofisi? So yeah, I think awareness and fear are big factors that changia to people being very afraid to speak up about sexual harassment in the workplace.
Right. CJ Atemo
how you doing?
is here. How are you doing? Good morning.
Good morning.
All is well?
Yes.
Yes. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
This is, again, a very hot button topic just from the comments I'm already seeing online. We're going to be sampling some of them in the course of this discussion, but feel free. Remember, I said 22422 is the number to use to remain anonymous. You don't have to tell us where you're watching from. You don't have to tell us what your name is. You can just weigh in on this particular issue, and we'll see what we can do. CJ, the question of the day is, why do you think people do not report sexual harassment at work? So I'll begin there. Then we can work backwards and define forms of it and read some excerpts of at least things that we picked from online. Why do you think people they don't report it?
One, it may be because of the perpetrator. If the person is in a position of influence, power, or authority, they may have the element of fear for the repercussions, the fear of repercussions. So if it is a boss, for example, who is perpetrating that, then they may fear losing the job. Two, they may fear that nobody would actually listen.
Nothing will be done.
Yeah, so somebody will think, well, even if I take this anywhere, nothing actually will be done, which brings the element of the culture of the office. Certain things begin just as normal jokes, normal conversations, and they nearly become so normal that if you even raise an issue about it, forget about even the boss, forget about the HR, like your own colleagues will feel like you're being extra. And sometimes somebody wouldn't want to be the person who is seen like they're being the extra. It takes a lot of confidence and courage for you to be able to stand up and say, I'm not comfortable with this. Because if you walk into an office where sexual jokes are the norm every day, just at the level of colleagues and peers, when somebody does that to you, you wouldn't want to go anywhere else because you think this is the culture of this place and it has been so normalized. So sometimes even among employees themselves, they become the enablers of that culture. So when it comes from people who are in senior positions, it is even difficult to handle it because that looks like the normal in the office. Other people will not do that. They will not report because they're not used to standing up for themselves. It's an issue of their confidence. They've never done that.
Is it an issue of their confidence? Sorry to cut you short. Is it an issue of their confidence or confidence taken away from them by the perpetrator? Like, you know, the way they say, you know, what we're going to tafuta hii position? Or who will believe you? So like, they're like, yeah.
Well, there's both, but there's also the point where maybe this person, even in their family, they never used to speak up for anything. You know, you're not permitted to speak up. And how they're socialized is you never speak up. You're not supposed to be the trouble rouser anywhere.
Right.
So they lack the confidence to bring up that. What you're talking about, where you're told many people want the position, that's intimidation. That's not necessarily lack of confidence. By the time somebody is telling you people want this job, it's because they know that you have either acted differently or you have spoken about what you're going through. So that is the issue of intimidation and manipulation, which is also very rampant as well. Yeah.
All right, and then there's the other element of victim blaming that happens as well. So And this has happened even online. Cases even when it's not in the office, where a lady has gone through something and they're like, angeva hivi, or hangeenda hapa, or kubali drinks, and stuff like that. Or, you know, you're told these things. What does that do to the person? Because here you are trying to report something and then you're blamed. And no, it's your fault. You shouldn't have gone to the office.
Yeah.
So where would I have met? Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think all this, you know, Rudy, back to childhood trauma, because how we grew up really affects the kind of adults that we end up becoming. And if you grew up in a situation whereby your needs were never met, you were never really listened to, you're always shut down, you're always told that you cannot speak up, so una grow up ukizoea shida ni yako. Shida ni yako, kitu kifanyika, because if anything happens, they ask you, Willis, why did you're never given the opportunity to be able to give excuses or explanations. So you grow up knowing that if something happens to you, it is entirely your fault. And that's why we run to victim blaming and shaming really, really quickly. If something, and it's become almost second to nature. Anytime you hear something happen to someone, it's always, oh, basi hange, ama hange, and it's never the person, the perpetrator, the person who's enforcing harassment or abuse in any way. Nobody ever asks, why did they do that? Or why are we allowing them to do that? Or why is it that it is normal? This is why I keep saying that we need to raise awareness by having discourse about all these topics. We need to always talk about these things so that it becomes easier. Inakwa unaweza notice. Ata jana I was talking to a friend of mine about something, and it comes to something as simple as colleagues discussing your salaries. We always have this secrecy ya kuficha vitu, and then you never realize that maybe wewe ulikuwa unanyanyaswa, maybe mtu mwingine alikuwa anapata what their worth is. We need to be able to have conversations, just speak so that you can always help the next person. And when you're talking about your own experiences, this is where you get community and you get to realize, oh, pia wewe, pia nani yako na story kayo. Okay, so how do we feel about it? How can we deal with it together? Or what education do we need on it? What do I need to know so that how can I handle this? How can I go through this? So I'd say awareness in a needy kasana. We really, really need to have a lot of education on such things, and just education goes as far as just talking about it. Just me being able to say, oh, this guy, he keeps making such jokes and I'm not really comfortable. I mean, I'm not sure if he's harassing me. Someone else will be able to tell you that's wrong. That's harassment. Because most times, by the way, to ni lack of awareness. Hatujui boundaries, hatujui mtu akizi overstep. Juka hauna boundaries, hauwezi jua mse akizi cross. So we need to have active discussions all the time so that we're able to steer away from things like victim blaming, so that when a perpetrator does something, we're able to question that person, like, why did they do that? Why did they rape this person? Why did you make such comments? Because if we don't do that and we victim blame, it becomes normal for the perpetrators to exist. So it becomes their jokes are very normal, their comments are very normal. When someone says them, we laugh. No, stop laughing at those jokes. When somebody says something that makes you uncomfortable, call them out. I say this, but then I know that it is difficult, especially coming from someone like what CJ was saying, someone who doesn't have the confidence. Sometimes it just seems easier to like,
and if it looks like it's the couch in the office, so
yes,
then you'll be the one who's relax.
When yeah,
stuck up, nini.
But just have boundaries. I mean, if that's your culture, cool, but don't involve me because I'm not comfortable with it. Sometimes people being uncomfortable, haitoki from utiaji tu, haitoki tu juu mse ni weird. Maybe they face some sort of sexual abuse in their lives. And so someone talking to them like that triggers something. So we need to be very kind and very mindful of course, pia wewe as a person, you need to be mindful of the people you're making jokes with. Kuna jokes huwezi make na kila mtu, na kuna jokes huwezi make. If you're comfortable within your circle, cool, but know that other people have boundaries. And I just urge people to be a bit more confident to speak on it. It might be difficult, and if you can't yourself, tell someone else who can. At least talk to someone else, just so there's a comparison point. That just so someone, if you came to me and asked me, you know, easy comments zenye nani ana make, I'd be able to say, he's just being funny. I can tell you what I think, or I can be able to validate your feelings. If you feel uncomfortable, then you feel uncomfortable. Sometimes we just need that extra support so that we're able to know and to be very set in our boundaries. I mean, talk about it. Just teach yourself about it so that you're able to know. Inaweza kuwa si universal boundaries, but for yourself. Kama mimi Bobby, spendi msaki make such jokes about such things in this. Kama tuko place different, okay, wazi tunaweza cheka, but kani job nimekama pa kuchapa kazi. So just boundaries like that, they help you, yeah.
So having your clear set boundaries. CJ, what about, okay, first of all, how would somebody know that, you know, okay, now this is bordering on, because I guess sometimes what is lost, I don't know if it's in translation or even in definition, if somebody does not know, okay, this is sexual harassment, this one, I don't even know if, I guess it's because it's so shrouded that, you know, okay, this is a joke going too far, this is harassment. Like, how do you draw that line?
Well, I think it depends on where it puts you at. If it brings discomfort to you, then it has crossed the line. And it comes back to things like the values that you have. What may be normal for other people may not be normal for you. So one lady may be fine with everybody in the office, you know, whistling when they get in, and people talking about the legs, and they may want that attention. Then for you, you may not want that. So nobody should then feel that that's normal, that every woman wants attention. The moment it's uncomfortable for you, that's harassment. You know, it has got to be something that you define by your boundaries. And that comes in, Willis, even in the things that we call jokes.
Right.
If the joke makes you uncomfortable, it is not a joke.
Yeah.
If you're the subject of the joke and it makes you uncomfortable, it is no longer a joke. You see, there are things that we talk about, and that's how we do things like, you know, body shaming. That's how we do those things of victim shaming, all of that. Sometimes it comes out like a joke. But what does it mean to you? What does it make you feel? How does that thing sit with you? If it is very uncomfortable with you, then it is no longer a joke. And it doesn't matter what the intention of the person who spoke the joke had.
Right.
Their intention cannot validate what you cannot invalidate what you're feeling, and cannot validate that being a joke, because you are the subject of it. So who is the determinant of harassment? The subject. It is the subject. If I treat you in a certain way, you are the one who will determine that I'm being harassed.
Right.
And I cannot say I'm not harassing you.
Yeah.
I can't insist that I'm not harassing you. If you're stepping on me, because you got a big shoe, if you're stepping on me, you may not feel it. You know, and I'll be telling you, Willis, you're stepping on me. And you're like, but I'm not stepping on you.
But I'm not hurting you.
I'm not hurting you.
But I did stomp on you.
Willis, you're stepping on me.
Yeah.
You're like, no, man. In fact, my foot is not even really on the ground.
Right.
I've not put my weight on it. I'll say, Willis, you're stepping on me. You're hurting me. That is harassment. But for you, because maybe you're not feeling like there's a foot under your foot, you'll feel like there's nothing that is happening. You know, you feel I'm trying to be dramatic. But I'm telling you that what you're doing is putting some weight on me, putting some pressure on me, and it is hurting me. You need to listen. So who determines whether it is harassment? The subject. Yeah.
All right, so I guess there are different definitions here. According to, you know, the Kenyan law, unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, lewd verbal or physical gestures by someone in authority. It goes on to discuss the victim's response to inappropriate moves will also be used in the legal proceedings later on. So if an employee gives into their superior's perverted demands to save their job, which resultantly creates an uneasy and offending work environment for them, the system will also consider it, that you're backed into a corner, you had pretty much no option, you are considering your job, etc. Then the Employment Act, Section 6, 1 of the Kenya Employment Act describes sexual harassment as any instance in which a superior or co-worker asks an employee for a sexual favor, such as having intercourse, signing a sexual contract, or engaging in any sexual activity in return for better growth opportunities, or favoritism among other employees. Moreover, the use of improper, suggestive language, written or verbal, is also classified as sexual harassment according to the Kenya Employment Act. Subclause 2 of the same section mandates every company with 20 or more employees to make and implement a foolproof punishment plan for perpetrators of sexual harassment. Firms are also to clearly state the definition as defined by the Kenya law in the bill in order to remove what they term as ambiguity. So it can't just be a vague description. You have to kind of go right into it.
Can I weigh in on something right there, Willis?
Right, go ahead.
So when the law talks about a company with 20 or more,
right,
some of the people who face harassment are working in firms of about 5 people.
Right.
And if you work with somebody who knows, who understands the law, they can technically get away with that. They can actually harass. Let's say somebody is a lawyer, or even not a lawyer, but okay, generally,
right.
Let's say a lawyer who only needs maybe 2 or 3 support staff in the office. So you need this lady as a receptionist, you need that lady as a secretary or something. They can easily get away with that on technicality because they've not established anything around that. They don't have 20 people. And some of these things actually happen in the smaller firms where there are not too many people.
Even in the houses.
Yeah. So there are not too many witnesses and all that. It's easier actually to do that. You actually think these 2 people are just working, they're working late. Then you will hear something come up from there and it will be their word against the other person.
Yeah, so it's quite dangerous and it's a place where lines are easily crossed. We'll go into that. You mentioned things about offices and stuff like that. We'll talk about that in just a bit. Raymond Silali has this to say. He says, people don't report due to fears of retaliation, doubts that anything will be done, feeling ashamed or embarrassed and feeling powerless. Some people may also fear the reporting process itself, like CJ was saying, or worry that they won't be taken seriously. Bilha from Kitale says people fear losing their jobs and also poverty. They may fear to report because they are afraid to be fired and maybe his or her family is depending on him, and nowadays finding a job is it's very difficult. Extremely is my own emphasis. Rack Flo, who is a rapper, says, I think it is because the employee thinks it's easy to be promoted and they're going to be favored at work. So it's a yin versus yang. It's clear that if this happens between employee and the boss, employee will not do this due to fear of losing the job. Moreover, others might take advantage of it to be seen great ladies dating a boss or even pressure of money. Most people fear to lose their job, while others are threatened by their employees. All right, you can't report your juniors sexually harassing you. Be sure sexual harassment is not just top down. We have bottom up too, seeking favors. Even your juniors are harassing you. It's only reported if the lady fails to get the reward she imagined. To enhance promotion and avoid intimidation, eventual dismissal beg your pardon, from seniors. All right, so those are just so most of them there. A lot of it is about fear, which is a practical thing. If you report, you lose your job. It's a reality, Roberta. How do you work around that? Because, like somebody has said there, maybe you're the breadwinner. Maybe this is it for you. This money, mekuja, and the absence of it means that, it means poverty. It means you're back to zero. It means going back home, nyumba kufungwa, stuff like that. Watoto wasiende shule. What do you do?
You know, I was just thinking, there's something Shatta asked. He said, I think we were discussing this topic, I'm not really quite sure. And he asked, what would happen if we all just spoke up? If we all just spoke up. And I remember his question making me feel like, okay, you might be privileged because you kind of have a voice, or you're really, really confident. But now I'm really thinking about it because I feel like his question was coming out of some sort of anger. He had this anger that how are we letting people who are above us, or people who are like someone said, it can be anyone. How are we letting perpetrators abuse us and we're just quiet about it? Like, why not just speak up? Why not just talk about it? And that's how I'm starting to feel. I mean, if all 20 of us know that the boss is being weird, why not just talk about it? Like, are they going to fire all of us? Well, they might.
I was going to say that.
They might, you know.
Is it
You
also
never
because,
know, but...
sorry again, is it also
Yeah.
because, I don't know, but the section I was researching on, I think the fine is 3 years or $100,000 fine, 100,000 Kenya shillings fine.
Okay.
Because maybe people are saying, okay, watch, if for example, you would say, and I don't know, maybe I would have asked a lawyer, if there's any lawyer, you can text me this, or if any of you know, if you take this person to court, let alone pesa ya kotini, but I'm sure there are people who can help you if you go to FIDA and all this. The money aspect, but then, first of all, the process. During the process, are you still working? What's going on? And then number two, in the
After
judgment,
that.
is this person just fined and anaenda ama unalipwa kitu?
Yeah.
Like,
and also, what happens about your job afterwards?
Yes.
Is there any job security? Those are really great questions.
Right.
And unfortunately, I don't know. I don't know the answers, but I love to hear if anyone else
kama
knows.
kuna lawyer hapo, hit us up, man. What happens? Because
Yeah.
I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing we're talking about on the show here, match fixing. It happens in Kenya. It's bad for a game, but because there is no law, nobody is going to be prosecuted. It just goes on. Here we have a case where there is a law, but the consequence, somebody says, okay, if I take them in court, kesi ikae kotini, alafu huyu jamaa afainiwe, then what happens to me? Am I still here? Am I? You know, and then you know how it is in social media. You'll be when ule mtu mwenye alinini. What happens? What happens?
You see, our culture works against our values to a great degree, because you might even win a case against an employer or a company, but then now, will you get another job elsewhere?
Yeah.
What will happen is some people will be like, we don't want Roberta. She took the other person to court.
Right.
Not thinking about why. So they just look at it as, this is somebody who can take you to court for something, which means that we are always looking for people who have low standards.
Yes.
We don't want people who uphold us to high standards. So the moment we realize that somebody can actually stand up for themselves, or they can take up a matter to court, or they can engage a lawyer, or whichever other direction or whichever other avenue they would use, then you'll find that even other potential employers will not want to deal with them, because those potential employers are also trying to protect themselves from something they will potentially do, which means it's a culture for them.
Yeah.
So they feel like, okay, if she comes and works here, I might do that and she might take me over there. So the question is, why am I even beginning to protect myself against that in the first place? It means it's something that we normally do.
Yes.
And that's where the problem is. But Willis, the people who probably may suffer the most when it comes to matters of sexual harassment are single mothers. Single mothers, because they have this balance between, you know, the bills and the children. Mothers don't give up on children easily. They don't. Very few would. You know, a man can just pack up and leave and hope that things will work out somehow with the kids. But mothers would rarely do that. And so when a woman is raising children, either her marriage was broken or she's widowed, or for whatever reason, you know, she never really got married at all. She just had kids with anybody else. She may put herself in that position and decide to take in whatever she needs to take in just to raise those kids. And sometimes people really take advantage of single mothers. When they know that somebody is a single mother, they will ask for extended times. It becomes very different when a woman has a man in the house. There's somehow that people will feel they need to respect the boundaries with that woman. It doesn't mean they don't harass women who are married. They will try just to see if that can also work. But when it is a single mother, the probability is higher. The extended work hours, actually undefined work hours, because there's no man you're going back to. So it will be said, no, you know, Jane has a husband, she has to go home. The husband will be asking where she is. But because you, Roberta, you're not married, so you can extend a few hours. And those are now the places where those kind of things like, you know, you need this job will come in. I think that it is very unfair to put people at that particular place, because what do you do to this woman's children? When she comes home battered and wounded and broken, where will she vent all of this? Where will she project it? On the kids. So you're raising a generation again of very angry children and those kind of stuff. And then later on we will be talking about we are dealing with a broken society because of absentee fathers and stuff. Sometimes it's not because the women could not do a good job, but they were broken at work. They were hurt and wounded at work, and they carried these wounds and they took them back to their children. They would be fighting them. So her frustration with her boss will come and be released on the kids over here. I think that it is important for all of us to try and provide an environment where people who have come to work are valued for the work that they bring in.
Yes.
For the energy, the effort, the time that they put in. They are paid for that. And if they are deserving of promotions, they are given promotions. I watched something that Vuzi Tumbegwayo said. He talked about the problem with broken systems and corruption. They said, you see, when you do that, then anybody who has a gift, who has a skill, who has a talent, never believes in the system. Either they're going to leave the system and go out and be paid better, but if you think about the flip side of it, what else would they do? If I think that I cannot gain promotion on merit, what do I do? Either you will lose me or I'll find a way to corrupt that system even the more. So it's important that in the workplaces, people need to reward meritocracy, or rather reward merit. There has to be meritocracy. People need to reward merit. If Willis is put in
seen.
Yes.
It will motivate.
Yeah, right.
See, if I reward you for hard work, Roberta will believe that if I work hard and if I do well, I will be promoted. So what that does as well, you will never have issues with Roberta, because she will respect how you went up. She will know that Willis was deserving of going up. So nobody will be feeling like there must have been a favor done somewhere, because everybody openly sees the amount of work this person puts in, the labor they put in, the energy they put in, and everybody feels this one is deserving. Yes. But if I overlook your hard work and then I bring somebody else who nobody even knows their input, then even Roberta will be demotivated. They will wonder, so what is the reason of working hard? And those are the systems that then begin to produce even these elements of sexual favors. Because now there's no clear way of promotions, opportunities. There may be opportunities to travel, and you may be more deserving than the other person, but then somebody will use that as a bait. They're like, there's this trip to France and this place, so
it's 10 days.
You want to go?
You want to go?
Let's go.
There's an opportunity for school somewhere else. I could give you this scholarship. You just need to know what to do. That whole statement is a very loaded statement over there. And sometimes they know that that person really wants it. So they're like, yeah, you know what to do. You know what to do about that. I think we need to build our systems around merit. We need to build our systems around merit, because we should not deny people of opportunities they deserve just because we have selfish, uncontrolled appetites. Yeah. All
right. To answer the question, we have a lawyer, Kendi Kaburu. Kendi Kaburu. I might add Kendi Kaburu Raburu. My eyes not standing. She says it. So for this, it says, for a sexual harassment case, the victim may get a payout. It depends. If it's pursued under civil law, yes. If it's under criminal, not really. And then she goes on to say special damages are based on the discretion of the court and what is pleaded by the plaintiff. So, for example, if the harassment caused any physical impairment, if it caused loss of a job, if someone had to go to therapy to deal with the mental trauma, etc., those things then can be quantified, and then judge anaongeza yake na unapewa kakiru. Now we just need to talk to CJ Martha Koma so that the cases go faster. Yeah, usiende January.
7 years.
Uambia exactly. Usiende January, uambia next hearing, December.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, also another thing altogether. But of course, every claim depends on different circumstances. Right. Our panelist, Ivan Amu, also says circumstance is also an issue in terms of people reporting. Somehow, being the person who has reported sexual harassment makes you be blackballed, and not only in that organization, life after coming forward is hardly easy from the moment you go to the police, the higher ups, to court processes, to the whole experience of having to relive the experience word for word to sort out and prove that this happened. It becomes sometimes mentally taxing. It is easier to just deal with the trauma, or rather, that's what it seems like. Some people only have themselves to count on, and so people are obliged to self-pressure because, you know, it's like you said, the system, even if you go and report this to the police, you can find a police telling you, oh, loacha boss akufanya hivyo, kwani wewe utaki promotion?
Kama unataka nikusaidie.
Sasa okay, hata sisi ndo
chukua hii namba yangu.
Tusaidie na kakitu. So it's, you know, everywhere you turn it might seem hopeless, but I guess we still have to stand up for ourselves. Keep talking to us, also using, like we said, the hashtag Daybreak, and also SMS on 22422. So then, what do you think should be done in the few minutes you have? Somebody who is watching has probably gone through it. There are different categories of people that just in the conversation that exists. There's that person who is watching with a smirk on his face because they are the harasser, if you can use that word. They're like, it's the way things are. Look at these people. Then there's the person who unfortunately is going through it now, maybe even yesterday. There are people who on their phones have text messages of a boss telling them, if you don't go for dinner, no salary increment. Boss anakutumia picha anakwambia unapenda hiyo picha, all right. You know what you need to do. Kama unataka job ama ukue permanent, all right? There are people they have the evidence. They're not quiet for lack of evidence. There are people who've gone through it, gone to bosses' offices and been touched inappropriately. They're watching too. Then there are those who now, as well as the fellow employees, who have watched somebody else be put somewhere, not because of merit, but because of, well, not because of boardroom, but because of bedroom. So, you know? So these three categories of people, I guess first let's start with the victim, the one who is watching painfully us tell their stories. What do they do? What can they do?
I say try to work on yourself to the point that you're able to garner the courage to have a discussion, at least even with a friend, because it all begins, everything that CJ said is very, very important, but it all begins with self, like I always say. So if I'm able to have the courage to tell CJ about what I've gone through, probably he'd offer counsel that I didn't have before. He'd give me more information that I didn't have. And beyond that, there's that support that you can get. And then in an environment like a workplace, also let's not just be compliant to things that are they're degrading our morals or anything like that. I mean this in that if you see someone come out, let us support them. Let us help them speak about it. Tusikwe tu ati ayo ni story ya Robata. Ni Robata leo, but kesho ni wewe. Na hautajua kudeal nayo kama hautakuwa willing kujiput in that situation. I know that in this society we like to individualize a lot of things, and we like hatuna hiyo sense of community sana. And that's what also brings about fear, because I'm scared if I speak about it, everyone is going to isolate me, everyone. But that's just a notion. I love what CJ said, because amesema that we need to just have the confidence and work on ourselves so that we're able to have these discussions. Right. So I think as a victim, I mean, at your own time, because abuse of any sort and harassment is very difficult to navigate, but if you gather the courage to be able to just speak on it, it creates a ripple effect that might not even help you, but it's definitely going to speak for the people who come after you, because sisi wote tunaogopa, okay, tutakuwa fired, but what about the next batch of people who come to work here? What if they're better because they know better, because they've had that.
And what if you're fired discussion. Either way?
Yeah.
Yeah, what if you are quiet and you're still fired?
Yeah.
Yeah, it could
happen. So anything could happen. Hiyo element ya fear tukiitoa kwa individually na kwa in the groups that we're in, we were able to hold these people accountable according to the standards that we deserve. If all of us in the office know that if someone works hard, they deserve a promotion, we should be able to say, Joyce ndo anafaa kupewa hiyo promotion. Joyce ufanya kazi. Joyce uko hapa, hours on end anafanya. If we're able to see it, why not just all of us rally behind Joyce and be like, yo, you guys, you need to give her what she deserves, so that it's on merit, like CJ said. Mwenye anafanya the best ndo anafaa kwe rewarded, the best anafaa kwe, so that ina motivate everyone else. So hiyo fear itakuwa eliminated if only we're able to band up together and support each other and be there for each other. For the perpetrators, I feel like people who have horrible intentions don't really, they're suffering within themselves already, and they need the help that we cannot see. And they normally think they can get away with things, or that, you know, wako juu sana. But if you're watching this and you're a perpetrator, I'd say that more than anything, you need help as well. You need to understand why you're the way you are, or why you reason the way you are, or why you think oppressing other people to lie to them with promises of getting further ahead, why that satisfies you. That's really questionable. It's really crazy to be that kind of person. And the moment everyone else gathers this confidence that we're talking about and they're able to speak up, you will be in trouble. You cannot hide forever. It's not something you can do all your life. And if you do, maybe utaponea, but we need sisi wenyewe to change the situation. Tuache kukua na yo, what if I lose my job? Okay, what if you lose your job and you get a better job? What if you get better opportunities because you were able to speak up? What if all of us support each other and we create an amazing work environment where we're listened to, we feel seen and heard? It doesn't always have to go the other way, but we're the only ones, if we have the awareness and the education, we're the only ones who are able to hold these people accountable to the standards that we deserve. So, ni sisi to work on ourselves. What's the third cluster of people?
Sasa sisi wenye tunaona, ule naye amewekwa pale, si kwa sababu ati yako na akili. Ni kwa sababu.
Be able to call that out as well. There's always, and when CJ was speaking, I was just thinking about how the sense of no job security is also can fall under harassment, because kila siku unaenda job lakini hauko sure ka boss wako amejam na wewe anaweza kuatisha job, hauko sure ka kesho utambo usikuje, hauko sure. That's also that CJ called it intimidation. It's intimidation, yes. It's all harassment, because you should go to work feeling like you're safe, you have a safe environment to work mentally. Because if you're constantly thinking, if I speak up, they'll single me out, that's not security. And we need to have these discussions so that kila mtu kwa ofisi, colleagues wako wote wakijua that hatufai kukua tunafanya to feel evil, we can speak on it. We can tell the boss, yo, it's not fair how every day we come to the office but we're always scared. We can't do our job if that's the vibe. So tuache kukubali vitu zinatufanya tukwe less, vitu zinatufanya nika hatuko deserving of better opportunities. We should just work on it so that it starts from us, and then it starts trickling down to the perpetrators and everyone who comes after us.
All right. Okay. We have the SMSs. We'll take them now. Okay. There's some 3 more SMSs. We'll take 3 actually, and then we can. Yes. So sexual harassment is not only towards ladies alone. Majawapia are being harassed sometimes. All right. Charles Hunja from Royal Kiambu says some people may not report any sexual harassment incidents simply because, or maybe because, there is nowhere to report to. Maybe the workplace has no mechanism for dealing with such. And Mashira from Emaka says sexual harassment is actually blackmail, very hard to navigate, but it happens to both genders, not women only. Yes, it happens there as well. So, CJ, the same question, but there are also those incidences where people are confused. So, how long? If a hug lingers on for so long, how long is so long? How long is acceptable? When do you get embarrassed? Or, you know, it's so, I mean, it's such a dicey place to be in, because trying to figure out, you know, also because so much has been said to you that you're even not sure, like, hey, am I really going through this? So, you know, what does somebody do for those, especially for the victims who are watching and they don't have a voice, or think they don't have a voice?
You know, when you ask about how long would the hug be, if you hugged Roberta now for a whole minute, it won't bother her, because there is a connection. There is a level of connectivity that the both of you have, conversations over time, friendship over time, and with certain boundaries that are clear. But if we are just professional colleagues, we have no other dealings apart from work. Then you come in, first of all, even when you ask for the hug, I'll be wondering, what? We're not there.
Yeah.
So if this hug even now lingers, that's a whole different dynamic, because we are not connected in that way. I think the foundation of all of these things is, what is the basis of your relationship? Right. If your relationship is just purely work, then anything that is outside of professional conduct raises questions at that particular point. So even when somebody would just even ask for a hug, it's not even somebody you converse with. You don't talk any social things. You always just on your KPIs, performance and stuff. Then suddenly they want to hug. Roberta, give me a hug. It'll be like, hey.
It's funny. Not anything.
It'll be like, hey, and then it's in a private space. Then again, look at the environments that these people will choose to do certain things. You look at that. Either it is very private, or they come and put you on the spot in public, in a place where you are compromised. So everybody's eye is on you, and you feel like you need to do whatever they're doing. And it looks like it's something just light passing. So it will be something like, hey guys, I've asked Roberta for a hug and she's not giving me a hug. That's harassment. Because now she has to act in a certain way because of the presence of everybody else. So she has to act in a certain way. So she'll be coming, not because she wanted to do that, but because she's on the spotlight. So there are two ways. People who harass people are very manipulative and very calculative as well. But there's something you asked about, what would people do? One of the things that I feel the simplest, low-hanging fruit is, if I harass you, for example, so I've sent you a text, I'm sending you all these videos or photos, I think you should actually text me back or send mail, just to have proof of correspondence, and say, sir, I received you this, and I would like you to know that I'm not comfortable with the things that you're sending or something, so that there is proof of correspondence that I did receive, you did receive, but then you said you did not want this. Well, somebody who is a bit clever may not respond to that, because then that would mean they indict themselves. But you will have proof, so that any day, anywhere else that you would go, you can show even from mail and say, I sent this mail to this person on this particular date, and these were the facts. It's not just hearsay, because by the time somebody is sending you mail, Willis, and saying, I did not like the fact that you were sending me this and this and this, they can't be that crazy to send to you directly things that do not exist. So I think it is important at the onset to just do that. So, well, there's a chance that you might lose your job or something, but there's also the chance that you're going to protect yourself within this space. So, as you speak up, let there be evidence that you spoke up. Send a text or send mail and say, I really love the opportunity of working in this place, and I think that I would learn a lot from you on this, but I am not comfortable with 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you would just change on how you do that, I'd be so glad to keep on working, and we keep it professional. So you don't get tired of doing that. You see, that is, you have just put a rebuttal on the person. You have told them you still love the job. You've told them you'd want to work there, but there are certain things that you're not comfortable with. So in the future, if anybody would come up and say, but what did you do about it? You'll say, I actually sent mail. And you can actually say, look, I have raised this issue 3 or 4 times, either on mail or on text. There's another aspect that I thought I needed to mention, that sometimes I could even be close with somebody, and then I begin to interpret it that she's interested in me, or she's playing along, when she's actually not. She's just enjoying herself. We were here with QT one day when y'all, I'm not healed from that.
We're sorry, CJ.
I'm not healed from that. But we were here with QT one day, and she said she loves to wear, for example, short dresses. And maybe somebody's doing that for themselves. They're just doing that for themselves. They're not trying to get your attention. Then you begin to press, trying to push the envelope because you think they're doing that for you. And then you begin to act in a certain way, feeling like, this lady's trying to invite me into this thing. Sometimes they're not inviting you into anything. Sometimes they're just doing that for them. People talked about, men also get sexually harassed. It's true. Somebody might be dropping their button here, not because they're trying to get anybody's attention. It's just their own feel good.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that you're trying to get the attention of a lady or something. So, and there are men, of course, who would also be very uncomfortable when you come around them and you're like, ooh, your chest, because they feel they're bringing in much more in here. And sometimes they'll tell you, look, I'm in a stable relationship, or I'm fine the way I am right now. And you keep on feeling, no, you can't be a man and be satisfied with one.
Right.
Yeah.
So you keep on pushing that kind of a thing. And you're like, Frank, don't behave like, don't do this stuff. That's also harassment.
It is.
Well. I feel that the whole basis of this is just respect.
Yes.
Respect. Just respect people. Respect people. How do you want your own daughter to be treated? How do you want your son to be treated? How do you want your son to treat people? Just basic respect.
Right.
And if we have that, I think we will have better working places.
All right. Well, I tell you what, I hope, like I said, this has helped to at the very least start the conversation. If you watch this, if you want, you can share it with your friend, like, hey, you told me about this and this guy talked about it, or you can share it with your colleagues. You can use it to start a conversation. Because this actually, that's actually true, Sheshi. Sheshi says, unaweza fanya pia anonymous email. And call out a few people, hapa na pale. It can be done. The thing is, I think what we're trying to say is, as Sija said, respect of yourself, respect of your environment as well. And as Roberta keeps saying, communication. Speak up. Tell somebody that this is wrong. If they don't listen, then take it to the next level, and let organizations also start taking this a bit more seriously. If you're in HR, if you're a boss, let's start taking this a bit more seriously. Find out if you actually have that written down conduct and define it clearly as per the Employment Act that says you should define clearly what sexual harassment is so that your employees know what it is. And if you are the victim, first of all, I'm very sorry, but it has no reflection on you. Look within yourself, seek therapy, seek help, speak out, reach out to a friend, and I hope that you picked up something from me. And for those of you who are out there, employees, mnaona mtu amepelekwa pale kwa sababu ya bedroom na si boardroom, tuendelee kufanya kazi, but if you can also, hata wewe, speak up, call it out. And you'll be better for it one day. And for those of you who think you'll get away with it, R. Kelly, Bill Cosby. Aye. Peace and love.